Okay, today I'm going to demonstrate to you how to prepare the container by putting the foam in it and then greening the container and then completing the centerpiece. So we use this as a foam knife. This is a block of foam. I've already told you about the foam. It's very lightweight. The whole block holds about 2 quarts of water. Just use the knife to cut on the perforated line. It comes with perforated line on it. Drop it in the water. Do not push it down. Just let it soak freely. If you push it down, what happens is the water wets the foam on the outer shell, but the foam on the inside is still wet, still dry. So you just have to let it sit by itself. Don't push it down. And in just a few seconds, it's ready to go. It's still soaking, but I'm going to pull this one out that's already ready to go. All right, so then these utility bowls are made to fit this size foam perfectly. So 1/3 of a block of foam fits right down into the rectangle of the container. So push that in. Okay, that one is already soaked. That's how long it takes. Okay, to make sure that this foam stays anchored in the container, we're going to use this tape. It's a waterproof tape. It has 4 names: waterproof tape, anchor tape, bowl tape, and grid tape. If you're making a grid on a container, which is like a giant tic-tac-toe out of tape, then you call it grid tape. But the generic name is waterproof tape. Once it is stuck on this container, if you get the container wet, the tape will not come off. You can't put it on a wet container, the container has to be dry, and then it will stay. So now if this arrangement, when it's finished, is in the delivery van or in your car going to its destination, if it hits a bump or a pothole and it's moving all around, that's not going to come out. It's going to stay in the container. Need to go up just a little bit. Okay. All right, so that's how you prepare the container. So next class, when you come in, you're going to just start doing that. I'll have the foam in the containers out, ready to go. You'll soak your foam, put it in the container. The next step is greening the container. So you're going to use leather leaf as your primary foliage, kind of the mass. Actually, it's considered the line foliage because it's going to create the shape of my overall design. So first thing you need to do is determine a shape in your mind. Okay, so I already told you we're going to be doing a round centerpiece arrangement. So within that, you have a couple of choices. You can make your design basically like half a circle, like this one. Or you could bring it up and make it a little more pyramidal if you want to make it a little bit taller, almost like a cone shape coming down. So this would be a table centerpiece. It would sit on a dining room table. You would still be able to see over it to communicate with the person on the other side of you. And it's pretty much the same all the way around. So I'm going to start this design in a little bit taller pyramidal. So I picked a nice piece of leather leaf that has a nice shape to it. It does curve a little bit here at the top, but I think I can work around that. I'm going to hold it up to my container and determine how tall I want my design to be. And I think I'm going to go for something about like this. So what I'm looking at is how far the stem needs to be go down into the foam and how short I need to cut it so that I have at least 1 inch of my stem down in the foam. I don't need much more than 1 inch because remember that kerplunk game where all the stems are intertwined together? If you get too many long stems in your foam, you won't have room for flowers. So you only want about 1 inch of the stem stuck down into the foam. So I'm marking it with my finger and then cutting it with the knife. If you're not comfortable cutting with the knife when you do your design, you can use the clippers. Okay, and that's fine for now. Eventually, you'll get more comfortable using the knife. Okay, so this piece is, I'm going to call this my number 1 piece, and it will be inserted directly up and down in the center of the foam. So that I just established the height of my design. Right, see how this leather leans way back? It just naturally curves like that. What can I do to get it to stand more upright? Anybody remember from bud vases? Okay, I'm going to put another piece in right behind it. It doesn't have to be as tall as the first one, but these 2 pieces back to back will help hold each other straight. Okay, so that's the height of my design. My second piece is going to go in to establish the width. So I just need smaller pieces. I'm going to make a design that is taller than it is wide. So I'm looking for several pieces that will fit that shape. I can either use one of the side leaflets from a really tall piece of leather leaf, or if I don't have a lot of those, I can just use the tip of a shorter piece of leather leaf. So now I'm going to hold this up and determine how wide I want my design to be. And I really think that this is probably going to be a little bit wide. Well, maybe not by the time I insert that. So I'm just going to go ahead and go with this. When I insert this second piece of leather leaf, and I'm going to call this my number 2, I'm going to rest it right on the rim of the container and insert it straight in. The natural curve of the leather leaf brings it down kind of over the rim of the container just a little bit. I can hold my second piece and measure to make sure it's going to be long enough. Remove a couple of these bottom leaflets because those are going to be in my way, and I want at least an inch of my stem available to stick into the foam. Now, I don't know if you can see from where you are, but the end of this stem has a little fringe of the stem left on it. If I were to stick this into the foam, it would leave a big hole, and then this leaf would fall right out. You always have to give everything a fresh cut. So just cut that little frayed edge off, and then I'm going to insert this one over here. I always like to go opposite each other because look at that shape that I just created. So this triangle, right? So this is going to end up being a three-dimensional round arrangement, but I'm starting out with this triangle. All right, so I'm going to turn it and go to the next piece. As a beginning designer, you're probably going to have to hold up your pieces and kind of measure. As you get a little more experience, a little more practice, you probably can just eyeball it. You can just hold it up and look and determine if that's going to be the right length. So this piece, I think that's a little tall, is going to go right on the rim of the container over here. So I have number 1, 2, 3, 4, and now I need one right here. So I'm looking for another piece that's going to be about that same length, and it's going to go right here. All right, so if I look down from overhead, bird's eye view, you can see that the 4 pieces kind of make a plus sign, right? All right, I'm not done. It's starting to look a little more rounded just because I've added pieces all around. But what I need to do next is come up with, like right now, it makes an angle, goes down and out, down and out, down and out. I want a gradual line coming down. So what I've done so far is establish the line of my design. I'm going to use this carnation stem to hold it up and show you. If I connect this point and hold my stem up, that's my line. So I'm making a pyramidal. That's my line, and my line. Nothing now can go outside that line. Everything has to stay within. So when I pick my next piece of leather leaf to put in, I don't want it sticking out any further than this. Okay, I also don't want it sunken way in. It needs to come out to my line, but not beyond the line. This is the biggest mistake I see beginning designers make. They'll pick a piece thinking, ooh, that's a lot of space right there I need to fill in, and then pick a really big piece of leather like this, and I'm going to barely stick it in just so you can see what it looks like, and go, yeah, that looks good. Does it? No, because it is what? Outside my line. So if I hold up this stem from this point to this point and then kind of come around, and I'm going to head over to my other side point, which is stuck on the table, it's way outside my line. So this 45-degree angle piece needs to be shorter than most people think it needs to be. All right, so I'm going to break some of those leaflets off, reduce the size. Now, how do I know where to put this in? I just said I want to put it at a 45-degree angle. Look at this triangle. Point, point, point. Triangle, right? And if, from those of you on that side, point, point, point. Okay, here's my triangle. This piece goes at a 45-degree angle right in the middle of that triangle. And I'm going to do that here and here and here. And so when I'm finished, what shape should I end up with? Kind of a rounded triangle. So this is going to bring some dimension coming out. All right, so here's my triangle, point, point, point. This goes right into the middle of the triangle. And then I need 2 more pieces. I think this bottom leaflet and this bottom leaflet will work. When you determine a size that you need, so instead of me picking my knife up twice and making this cut, I'm just stacking these 2 pieces right on top of each other. Remove these bottom ones and cut them both together. Try not, oh, that's way too long. Try not to take shortcuts and and leave that little frayed end on your stem, because it will just end up taking you more time later to replace that stem once it comes loose. All right, so now I have all 4 of my 45-degree angle pieces, and I'm going to number these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is the skeleton of my design. Okay, so I've set my line. If you look at it, let me adjust that one. If you look at it from overhead, it's going to be a tall, rounded, pyramidal shape. All right, but I'm not done, because do you see all this foam, all this empty space? Once you establish the line and stay within that line, you're just going to fill in until you hide your mechanics. What are the mechanics?
The foam.
The foam. And maybe a little bit of the tape that you can see where I connected the foam to the container. Okay, so you can break down a piece of leather leaf. I think I can use this piece all together. I think that it will work. What you want to try to do is put the largest piece in that's going to fit where you need it to go. Try not to put little pieces like this in, because these are not going to cover much space. It's going to take you more time to pick up your knife, make a cut, and insert that than if you maybe take a larger piece and try to fill it in with that. So it doesn't really matter exactly the pattern that I go in now, as long as I stay within the line. So I'm just going to prepare a whole bunch of pieces. I'm going to go down this stem and make several cuts. That way I only have to pick up my knife once. My trash goes on the floor. The tip of this one is broken. It doesn't mean I can't use it. It just means I need to take that broken piece off. And now I'm just going to go around and insert these pieces. I've already cut them, so I just have to pick them up and stick them in. I'll go to another piece. So we call these wings, because well, this one's broken, but they kind of look like wings of a bird. And that's just 2 leaflets of the stem of leather leaf. I think that's way too big for me to insert the whole thing, so I'm going to cut those 2 off. Sometimes you can insert the wing whole altogether, but sometimes they're just too big. So I'm just looking for holes, and I'm just inserting, making sure that I stay within. I was going to start to put this piece here, but then as I looked very quickly, I decided that even sticking that in about 1 inch, it's going to stick outside my line. So I'm going to move it up here closer to center, and that way it still stays within my line.